Greetings game collectors and welcome to today's retro game review. Now, I don't usually put out a Christmas themed episode on the channel, but I really wanted to take a look back at a very special game and computer system I received as a young boy one fateful Christmas so many years ago. It was the Christmas that changed the direction of my life forever. Hopefully I can capture and share some of that Christmas spirit I was given so many years ago. Picture the scene. You wake up as a 7-year-old from beneath your Transformers duvet set, and it's Christmas morning, 1989. Father Christmas has been, and he's decided that this is the year you will have your first computer, a shiny new Commodore Amiga 500. There would be games too, including one of the most iconic of all time, Battle Squadron. You would put the disc into the Amiga, then some whirring sounds from the drive, followed by some crazy light show as the game loaded, a rather dramatic title screen, and then... Oh sweet Yuletide, what was this? Life had changed forever, as music from an exciting future exploded from our wood-grain TV, along with images of an intergalactic battle of epic proportions. It was the mission to destroy the Barracks Empire in your very own fight to save the universe. It's fair to say that I've never been quite the same since. The 80s may have been drawing to a close, but the new frontier of gaming was going to be something very special indeed. Christmas 1989 was the moment I first caught the gaming bug that has remained with me to this very day. This is an actual photo of me and my sister getting to grips with Battle Squadron on that Christmas morning so many years ago. A few decades later, and I still have that same sense of wonder when I boot up an Amiga. Although I have to say that I rarely use my feet anymore to grip the joystick. My family weren't exactly well off financially back in these days, so a computer in the house was really something quite remarkable. So, when I was growing up in the 1980s, the computing and video games scene was a really different environment. Small teams could create bestsellers. There were no internet reviews, and generally it was an era when new technology really helped the industry grow up. It's therefore no surprise that the 80s created some real game-changing titles. Personally, Battle Squadron was the first game I ever saw that I really understood to be, well, outstanding. Looking at the box, it's clear that this game is going to be something special. Its dramatic scene in neon colours wraps around the box and lets you know that this is going to be great. The back of the box lets you know that the game is going to have some variety as it shows off various alien environments. Inside the box, you get the 3.5-inch floppy and a rather standard manual. Overall, it's a nice package and sits well on the shelf. If you need an iconic artefact from gaming greats of the 80s, then this is it. Everything about the physical packaging is on point and really sells a coherent story. The manual has all the relevant information you'll need to jump into the largest fight of your Amiga career. The shoot-'em-up genre was reasonably well established by this point in time. Midway's 1942, Topland Shooter series, and Battle Squadron's own spiritual predecessor Hybris had all laid the groundwork for the genre. Battle Squadron just perfected it. Bigger, brighter, faster, and just all-round groundbreaking, Battle Squadron was all gamers hoped for, an instant classic. Everything else just looked and sounded like a relic from the past in comparison. The game allows 2 players to simultaneously fight the oncoming ranks of enemy fighters. There's turrets, strange alien craft, organic monsters, and a tirade of oncoming bullets. All this set to the backdrop of outstanding digital music that defined the Amiga. As with most games of this nature, your ship starts out with a standard strength shot that can be powered up by collectibles. These include an orange shot for wavy red fire, a red shot for wide area damage, blue rays for rear shot, and green lasers for narrow but powerful attacks. These power-ups can be obtained by shooting down groups of enemies that appear periodically. The power-up system allows for a variety of options to keep the gameplay fresh yet challenging. If all goes wrong, you can always hit the Nova Bomb to release a screen-clearing attack, ideal for those moments when the Empire throws everything at you and you find yourself trapped into a corner. My goodness, is this satisfying. The enemies have interesting attack formations, and the game seems reasonably well balanced, even if it is a little on the difficult side at times. I would highly recommend an auto-fire joystick for this one, as you are going to give your button finger some serious punishment whilst playing through this one. As you might expect, the game also throws boss fights at you. After navigating through the overworld, you must then travel into the various openings in the ground to get to the planet's core. At the end of each section, you'll duel it out with the bosses, defeat all 6 bosses, and you destroy the Barracks Empire. Graphically, the game is a triumph. Compared to 1942 and even its predecessor Hybris, Battle Squadron looks to have taken several generations leap forward in presentation. Scrolling is clear, enemies are well detailed, and the planet really feels like a living, breathing place. Martin Pettersen, who co-wrote the game, used cutting-edge techniques for the time to create the best experience possible. Small touches, such as creating semi-invisible enemies, all took the game to the next level. What may appear simple utilised a technique called blittering to achieve the effect. This was a game that was lovingly created and polished to perfection. When certain alien crafts and turrets are destroyed, there's not just a simple explosion animation, but also a flash that covers the background. It really sells the story. In terms of audio, this may be my favourite in-game soundtrack of all time. Everything has a sense of uplifting beat and really adds to the urgency and drama of the war. The title music remains one of the most iconic of the era, and is still commonly remixed by fans decades later. The sound effects too are also very clear and well developed. With shooting games, it would have been so easy to recycle sounds over and over again. However, each weapon has its own sound, and the power-up and collision sounds are spot on. In terms of criticism, I really can't find much to fault. On some of the later levels, the spaghetti-style background can get a bit confusing, as the orange projectiles are a similar colour. The difficulty could be an issue for some players, but it's certainly not a bullet hell scenario. There are also options to change the difficulty level. Some of the bosses require quite a lot of bullets, and also spam rather unpredictable shot patterns, which makes the game quite challenging, especially if you've lost your powered up weapon. It is actually nice to see this in a way though, as you can see the origins forming that would later lead to more modern shooters. Overall, everything about Battle Squadron is outstanding. The critics agreed. Across the board, gaming magazines of the day queued up to award near perfect scores to the game. Amiga Computing awarded the game a score of 109%. It's a score that has gone down in legend. It was a game so good it redefined what the shooter genre could be. Martin Pettersen was not alone in creating Battle Squadron. Martin may have led the coding aspects of the game, but it was Torben Larsson that was in charge of creating the graphics for the game. The combination of Martin and Torben led to a very special end product. Such was the success of this basically homebrew game that larger publishers wanted a piece of the action. In 1990, Electronic Arts released Battle Squadron on the Sega Mega Drive under license from Enterprise. With such a fundamental foundation of using the Amiga's strengths, as well as Martin and Torben though, how would EA ever get a decent port of the game? Well, the Mega Drive manual gives us an explanation of how Martin came on board with EA to personally help with the conversion. From my research, I also believe that Torben also took a consultancy role in helping with the graphical conversion of the game. Interestingly, the Sega Mega Drive manual only focuses on Martin, with a mini biography at the start. From what I can see, Torben is only mentioned in the end credits under Game Design and Game Graphics sections. They also appear to have misspelt Torben with an I rather than an E. The end result for the Mega Drive? Well, if I'm honest, I was prepared to dislike the conversion, but I have to say, it's as close as you can get considering the different chipsets between the Amiga and the Mega Drive. The sound chips in particular being the most different. Rob Hubbard's conversion of Ron Claren's original musical masterpiece remains remarkably well intact, considering the Mega Drive's less than perfect record for sound design. Having said that, Battle Squadron remains a very strong contender on the Sega system. This really isn't a bad conversion at all. Purists, though, will tell you that an original Amiga disc on original Commodore Amiga hardware is the only way to enjoy a full hit of nostalgia. Now, you're wondering, what's it going to cost to get this into your collection? Well, recently, a PAL Territory Amiga release has gone anywhere up to £100 on eBay. I do see this game rising in price though, as it is a genuine landmark game that serious shoot-'em-up collectors really need to own. As an alternate, you can pick up the Sega Mega Drive port for around £10. For those of you with newer technology, there's also the iOS release of Battle Squadron 1 for those looking for a quick fix. Surprisingly, it was only after all of these years later that I actually sat down and completed this game end to end for the first time. The game does boast some supremely difficult moments, so it's great to finally defeat the Barracks Empire after all this time. For your viewing pleasure, I've shared my long play video on the Insert Disc Gameplay channel. What really got me was the end credits. Battle Squadron was developed in just 8 months by Martin Pettersen and Torben Larsen after having developed Hybris. At the time, Martin was just 18 and Torben 21 years of age. This is just mind-blowing. The credits even state, "Greetings to my family, my friends, especially at my school." That's right, Battle Squadron was written by a school-age coder. I've seen some great accomplishments in my time, but Battle Squadron has to be a shining example to showcase the skill of young minds. For those that delve into the Sega Mega Drive manual, you'll get an even fuller story of Martin. Martin Pettersen, defender of the universe extraordinaire. 8 years ago, while other boys were out playing ball, Martin stayed in and played programmer. He was 11. Then he became renowned for such Amiga hits as Battle Squadron and Hybris. He was 17. Now he brings you Battle Squadron on the Sega. With a college degree under his arm, Martin Pettersen is 19 years old. Hailing from Copenhagen, Denmark, he has been with Enterprise Software from the company's beginning, 1.5 years ago, and continues to help Enterprise carry out their mission to be the best producer of games that bring an arcade-style feel into home games. Watch for Martin's and Enterprise's work in the future. If history is any indication of things to come, we suggest adding a seatbelt to your favourite beanbag. Quite frankly, this is amazing stuff. The credits also give you some interesting stats around the technical specifications of Battle Squadron. The music for the game? Just 150k. Whether your memories of this game are powered by nostalgia or not, you have to give credit where credit is due. These guys really pulled off something very special here. From that Christmas morning in 1989, I've always had a soft spot for Battle Squadron, but what became of Martin and Torben, two of Copenhagen's finest computing minds? Well, you'll be pleased to know that they are still around in Denmark. Martin went on to carry out research in the field of biotech. Torben went on to help develop the game Hugo and gain other professional qualifications. Both are still actively attached to Copcom, the company they founded so many years ago. Quite frankly, I had assumed that they would go on to build a gaming empire, but it wasn't to be. Development for Battle Squadron 2 never amounted to a final release, and the resurrection of Hybris also had to take a back seat. However, this isn't a sad ending. Games like Battle Squadron don't just die. For one, the fans just wouldn't allow that to happen. In addition to the iOS release, Battle Squadron 1, the game also saw a fully revised PC conversion from Copcom. The Barracks Empire would have vengeance for those that sought it out. For children of the Amiga generation, there was to be one final battle against the Empire. That's right, for the hardcore fans that never lost faith, Battle Squadron finally made its triumphant return to PC, Amiga OS 4 and Mac for a whole new generation to enjoy. A reworking by the dream team of Martin, Torben and Musina, the team was back together, and so was the perfect gameplay. The game remains largely unchanged, but there are new graphical enhancements to the opening scenes. For those that appreciate the game, this is the perfect way to round out your collection. Now, Capcom could have just put out a really simple release for a quick cynical buck. Instead though, what we got was a really well thought out release. The outer packaging is really well presented, the disc is in full colour, and even a thank you note is included. On the disc, you'll find the game arranged for PC, Amiga OS 4 and Mac, along with a full PDF manual. You'll also find an extra folder containing a demo, music, pictures and videos. For those that search further, there's also lots of other bits and pieces such as sound effects and some of the original sprites. For a long-time lover of the game, this is just priceless. This is where it all began for me, so it's more than just a trip down memory lane, it's a pilgrimage. As you might expect, the game has had somewhat of an overhaul. You can now adjust between 50 and 60 Hz, change speeds, scrolling, auto-fire, scan lines, a retro mode, and overall a really decent array of options. I'm really pleased to report that the PC version of Battle Squadron was everything I wanted it to be. You can play the game with the new additions such as the achievements and extras, or simply lock it down to the original settings. This is not a reinvention of the game, this is a revival. The original Amiga release of Battle Squadron was already perfect, so don't expect to see any dramatic changes here. The re-release of Battle Squadron is a best-in-class example of how to treat a classic game with respect and testament to Martin and Torben's belief in the project. My final verdict on this one is that Battle Squadron is a must-own game for Amiga owners and shoot-'em-up collectors alike. It's simply the pinnacle of its age. The price point may put some off. I've been playing this one since 1989 though, so the value for money is built in. As one of the first games I ever played in my own home, I have some really fond memories of this game, and I can't imagine my life with retro games, or brand new as it was then, without it. Perhaps above all shooters of the 80s, it was Battle Squadron that started my love affair with the shoot-'em-up genre, the Commodore Amiga and gaming in general, which makes this a very important game in my collection. Battle Squadron is a game that represents so much for myself and other gamers of the 80s. With its slick graphics, powerful upgrades and rocking soundtrack, Battle Squadron has stood the test of time. If you can afford to collect this one, I can highly recommend it to you. As a young boy, it made my Christmas of 1989, being a solid go-to game throughout my life, and it has recaptured my enthusiasm again nearly 3 decades later. This really does feel like the Christmas gift of past, present and future. I'd just like to say a huge retrospective thank you to Martin, Torben, Ron and everyone that made Battle Squadron if you ever happen to see this episode. Until next time, have a great Christmas and happy collecting. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!